A long and grueling season is about to come to an end here tonight as the MPI Cup Series comes to Phoenix Raceway for their final round of the Season 2 Championship. Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. And alongside me, as always, my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. Tony, we're expecting a very fun night here at Phoenix.
Welcome to the Valley of the Sun under the light. And I mean, especially after what we've seen the last couple of weeks, as these guys have been slugging away trying to make the Final Four. Katie barred the door because they got an open dog leg tonight, and there's a lot more drivers here tonight than I thought were going to show up.
Yeah, we have 26 drivers.
27.
27 now on the count here for this race here this evening. This will be the final race of Season 2. We will get, obviously, post-race, we will get the champion for tonight's race. He will be the first interview we do tonight. Top three, as usual, will go after that, and we'll get a word from the league owner, Steve Kerpel, to kind of put a bow on Season 2 for the MPI Series. But first, we'll go to tonight's race information here for the Raze Energy 200 at Phoenix, the Championship 4 race. Ryan Thomas, Ray Rogers, Warren Keith, and Dylan Hastings are going to be the 4 drivers battling for the championship tonight. And right now, Rogers and Thomas are sitting at the top of the pylon.
not a real surprise. We've seen them there most of the season. They've most of the tracks that we go to that, you know, where you've got to be up on the wheel, those are the guys that you expect to see towards the top of the scoring pylon most of the night. So not a big shocker there. But what is a shocker is you've got the top. Let me do some quick high-powered gazintas here. The entire field is separated by less than a second.
Yeah, these guys have been showing a lot of restraint, and obviously it's a practice session, but they've been spread out here a lot, have been getting a lot of clean laps in. However, the danger corner that we're seeing here tonight, as we see one of the championship contenders, Warren Keith, on your screen right now, one of the danger corners that we're seeing here tonight, not necessarily the tight entry into turn number 1, it seems to be the exit of turn 4 that's causing these drivers a lot of grief here tonight.
And that has a lot to do with the fact of how this track sits. That's the corner that gets the most sunlight throughout the day. That's the corner that, the most dust collects in. And it also, you narrow down into the tunnel. I mean, if we can go on board with one of the drivers, we were able to slap a GoPro on their helmet before we went live tonight. It's like trying to drive down the hallway from your living room to your kitchen at almost 150 miles an hour.
And it's an incredibly flat turn 3 and 4 as well, especially the exit of 4 is very flattish. Boy, Dylan Hastings just getting around. Trevor Maceti there is able to keep his foot in it, but you mentioned it right at the top of the broadcast, the dog leg is going to be open here tonight. That could wreak some havoc, not just for the dirty part of the track, but also guys coming up on the track to get into that tight, and well, not necessarily tight, but flat turn 3.
Absolutely, and I don't envy the eye in the sky tonight, solely because this is one of those situations where if you are going to use that open dog leg to your advantage to try to gain some track position, there's nothing in the rule book that says that if you're running side by side with me and you go down there and I don't, that I have to let you back up.
I'm sure there was something in the driver's briefing, though, to be a little bit courteous. But again, Ray Rogers and Ryan Thomas, Zach Wilson, Garrett Brown in the number 19, and Dakota Curtis right now are your top 5 here in the practice session. Those guys are separated by about, maths, I know those. That's about a tenth of a second, about a tenth and a half. Between the top 5. Carl Burke, Austin Shoemaker, Warren Keith have all set the same time at a 26.64. Craig Burns in the 48 is right there. Trevor Maceti as well in the top 10, also right there, as Dominic Lee puts himself up into 3rd. This is a completely different beast from what we saw last week at Indianapolis, where very wide in the corners, but it's a very narrow line at Indianapolis, very quick. This place, very tight, confined, narrow, and a championship on the line. That's going to make this race a lot tougher.
Absolutely. This is the race where you put them up on the dash and go, all right, here we go, boys. And, kind of hope for the best. Is they've got 2 race control here tonight. Not just one, there's 2 eyes in the sky.
Yeah, they're feeling they're going to need all 4 of those eyes. As you see Dylan Hastings on your screen right now, getting onto the sliding Richard Swavely. Joseph Mahar not that lucky to be able to get around them. And there you go. Right into the barrels. But that's what we've seen a lot of, especially on guys that are just coming out of pit road. That flatness of turn 3 and how much speed you carry into that corner really catching these guys out here. Because
of how you have to run it. I mean, we're going to definitely, as we always see every time we come to ISM, that second lane is going to be paying dividends before very long here tonight, especially with how cool the track conditions are. I mean, this is winter parka weather for Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, only 64-degree ambient temperature here at this race tonight. 67-degree track temperature, which means cool racing. These cars are going to be a little bit stiffer than they normally would be. Instead of slipping and sliding on the hot asphalt, they're going to be a little bit more grippier tonight, and the cooler temperatures means a heck of a lot more horsepower coming from these engines.
Very much so. You take a look at the rest of the weather breakdown. As you would expect in the desert, 0% humidity, 29 inches of mercury, and it's rising, which means that there's a ton of oxygen in the air right now. So these guys are making all the horsepower that these small block motors can produce. The tires, because the track is so cool, they're getting all the grip that they can possibly get. And the one thing these guys are really going to have to be mindful of is tire management here tonight. They've got a total of 5 sets of tires to go 200 laps here. And this track is notorious that if you don't get turn 1 correct, you're going to burn that right front off quickly. And then next thing you know, you're going to be testing the structural integrity of the safer barrier on the exit of turn 1.
And in very rare cases, the safer barrier actually loses that battle. As qualifying is set to begin, we got a couple of guys out on track right now. Dakota Curtis, Ryan Ezell, Richard Swavely, Parker Bland, Carl Burke, Daniel Holcroft, James Kunkel. So a lot of guys coming out here for the qualifying session here early as we take a look at the 5 of Ryan Ezell. And Swavely right now, I believe, was the first one to cross the line in the 60. As there he is in that Tabasco Toyota. And Swavely, he had a really good run going at Indianapolis last week. Unfortunately, got himself in a mix-up as far as pit cycle went. Put himself in the back and was never really able to recover. But that 60 has been very, very good these last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. As Dakota Curtis sets provisional pole of 26.9. That's not a bad opening lap, especially considering, these guys get 3 laps for under anger for qualifying. Dylan Hastings jumping up to a 26.8. So, definitely not in slouch mode, that's for sure.
No, and this is big for Dylan Hastings in the 41 right now. The first of the playoff drivers, the championship 4 that went out to qualify. Hastings setting a session best second half of the track. Holcroft set a purple first half and jumps himself up into second in the number 26. Richard Swavely sets a personal best for him. That will move him up into second. Dakota Curtis knocks off Dylan Hastings, not by much, as Holcroft sets the session best first half. Hastings sets the second half, and it's Holcroft going to the point with a 26.7.
And that's what we've been seeing. We've seen everybody pick up about 90 thousandths on their from their best practice lap to their qualifying session. You just throw some more tape at it and let it eat. So these guys are far from done, that's for sure. Matt Rogers out there right now. Carl Burke goes to the top of the pile.
And we're looking at Carl Burke right now here. He's on his third and final lap. As Burke coming across the line slower in the first half of the lap. Second half doesn't appear to be anything to write home about. It was a personal best, though, for the driver of the 53, and Carl Burke will retain his pole position. Dominic Lee another one of those guys that was very quick during practice. Lee does not get the best second half of his lap, and Lee done. And we'll put it into third position right now. Still waiting on other playoff drivers to take times. Ryan Thomas, Warren Keith, Ray Rogers have not yet taken laps, as Austin Harger on track right now. Harger working on his third and final lap. Justin Hendry, Jason Clark. Well, Clark is done with his laps. Garrett Brown on track as well. This is again the third and final lap for the 25, and a big slide from Harger coming out of the final corner. That will keep him in the 8th position. Here comes Hendry. And Hendry a personal best the second half of the lap. But Garrett Brown, though, looks like he's on a pretty good one in that number 19.
Brown's got a good line going. Comes across the stripe, 12th quick on his first lap. And you can see him right down there, right next to the pit wall, coming through 1 and 2, right down onto the apron through the dog leg. And you can see just how unsettled that car gets with this new tire model, with this new suspension model. That new suspension model came out on Wednesday night, and we've seen it wreak havoc already as Brown jumps up to 3rd quick on his 2nd lap and catches the apron on his 3rd lap. That's definitely not going to help his cause.
Yeah, no, he set the session best first half. Zach Wilson goes to the point after setting the session best first half of the lap, and that right there, that running wide, will pretty much kill it for the 19. As Brown will come across the line after completing his 3rd lap, he will slot himself into the 4th position. Here is the current pole sitter, Zach Wilson. Sets the session best second half of the lap. Wow. Is able to improve his time slightly. So make it a 26:49 for Zach Wilson up at the top. Only other car on track right now is this man, the number 3 of Trevor Maceti. And I'm surprised here. We got 4 minutes left in this qualifying session. Rogers, Thomas, Keith still have not blinked yet.
I think they're waiting to see if the track's going to cool off anymore, because we've already lost 2 degrees since the start of qualifying. But how about that lap by Wilson? One of only 3 drivers all night to go sub 26.5. One of only 3 drivers.
And he was the 3rd quickest in the free practice session, as we got a couple of drivers coming out on track right now. One of them being championship contender and last week's winner, Ryan Thomas, in that number 32 PlayStation 5 Chevrolet. Coming out to set time, Joseph Mahar, Clint Leatherwood out with him as well. Steve Kerpel also coming out in the 18. So this one, Thomas was 2nd quickest, off by only a couple hundredths of a second in the practice session to Ray Rogers. This is going to be a good lap. This could be an interesting couple of laps here for the 32.
He had a hell of a run coming out of the first corner. Didn't use up all of the dog leg like we were kind of expecting him to. And that's only good for 11th quick. Let's see what he can do on his 2nd lap here. And you can see him just he's not using all of the track. Now he throws it down into the dog leg. Again, not using all of it. We've seen guys go much lower in that dog leg to try to save a little bit of time. And ooh,
that was a big hit coming out of turn 4. Fortunately for Thomas, though, he does have that extra 1 lap. He was only on a personal best, not a session best, in the first half of the lap. Warren Keith looking to set his first time right now in the 88 Ford. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of 4 from the 88, and his benchmark lap will put him up into the 8th position. As Keith, again, coming through that dog leg, as you mentioned, coming through somewhat low through that dog leg. Again, a personal best for the 88, but not a session best. You're seeing that as well. He does look a little unsettled coming through 3 and 4, but that really doesn't seem to matter, though. He's put it up into third.
He was getting it when he had to, as Ryan Thomas trying to get as much heat in the tires as he can, starting his final lap. So this is going to be interesting to see what Thomas is able to do with a one and done here.
Ray Rogers out on track as well. Warren Keith does not improves his position up to second. Here's Ryan Thomas's third and final lap. Thomas slower than his personal best the first half of the lap, beats his personal best in the second half, and Thomas only good enough for the 13th position. So right now, Thomas the slowest of the 4 playoff drivers, as Ray Rogers has already put 1 lap in the books, working on a second. He's up to 11th position.
Rogers has a pretty line coming out of 4, too. Keeps it wound up. That jumps him up to third quick, and he is flying through turn 1.
He was the fastest car in the practice session. So Rogers, again, setting a personal best, not a session best, but a personal best in the first half of the lap. Second half coming in, only has 5 seconds to get to the line here before the session ends. This one could be close, and right at the 10-minute mark, Rogers puts the lap in, only good enough for third. But boy, did he time that as perfectly as you could.
And he kind of had to, because that was the coolest the track has been all night. The track temperature has fallen to 65 degrees. As you would expect the desert air to do here, the track has just cooled right off. So, definitely something to be mindful of as the race wears on.
And with qualifying in the books, we will go to the grid for the final race of the MPI Cup Series Season 2. Zach Wilson takes the pole in that Sega Keith Motorsports number 38. Warren Keith, coming up just 0.07 of a second off, make up the front row. Ray Rogers and Craig Burns in row 2. Carl Burke, Daniel Holdcroft settle into row 3. Garrett Brown, Dominic Lee in row 4. Row 5 will see Dylan Hastings and Brian Fine, Trevor Maceti, and Austin Shoemaker in row 6. Row 7 will be Ryan Thomas and Dakota Curtis. Row 8 going to Richard Swavely and Austin Harger.
Kip Easley and James Kunkel are going to roll off in row 9. Row 10 sees Matt Rogers and Steve Kerpel. Clint Leatherwood and Chris Fail going to roll off in row 11, with row 12 seeing Justin Hendry and Ryan Easel. Joe Mahar and Jason Clark in row 13, with row 14, last car to take time in qualifying, Mr. Parker Bland in the 00, starting shotgun on the field.
And the 2 guys that you see there starting in 28th and 29th, those are the 2 guys that are going to be in race control for the evening's events as we get set to go. And Tony, we talk about it all the time. These races have the potential to be incredibly exciting. Warren Keith, first of the playoff drivers, starting in the second position. Ray Rogers has been solid these last couple of weeks. Won at Dover, the opening race of the playoffs, starting in the third position. Dylan Hastings was able to just barely point his way in after Indianapolis, after a rather rash move by Parker Bland to try to stay in the 10th position at the end of the race. And then the guy who has been really on fire for a vast majority of this season, the 32 of Ryan Thomas, starting as the last of the playoff drivers.
Absolutely, as the field works its way through the dogleg. Now, if you're Warren Keith, you got to feel pretty good, because you got your teammate with the button as the field works its way in out of turn number 4, and pace car is in. Wilson has the trigger. Green flag comes out, and we are underway. And 200 laps, the scheduled distance here tonight. Keith gets a decent jump on that outside line, but here comes Rogers on the inside as well.
Yep, Rogers able to hold that inside. That 88 of Warren Keith chops him off. Going through that dog leg, is able to keep that second position. Look at Craig Burns way on the outside of turns 3 and 4 with Carl Burke in the 53 under him. That momentum, however, is going to keep him in that 4th position as Ryan Thomas, you saw there at the back of the screen there, Ryan Thomas desperately trying to make up positions, goes 3 wide into turn 1, passes Dylan Hastings, and also gets around the 15 of Austin Shoemaker.
Oh,
there goes the 60. Yep.
50.
Yep, that's the 60 of Richard Swavely. Caution is out for the first time tonight.
Swavely.
Yep. So there is Richard Swavely. A little slide of his own. We'll take a look and see what happened here. He's coming back on the track from the dog leg, and that might have, I don't know, with the way that car just shot off, it looked like there may have been a net code between him and the 41.
Well, if you take a look at the 41 coming through the dog leg, he was up on the racing surface, and he was a little squirrely on exit. So he was chasing it down the hill as the 60 was starting to come back onto the track. And, there was a little bit of net code. There wasn't a lot, but, I mean, maybe if you're skinny, you could have gotten between those two cars.
Yeah, the replay angle that we had seen there didn't show any contact between the 41 and the 60. And that is another thing that these guys are going to have to worry about as well. This isn't just an Xfinity car thing. It isn't just a truck thing. These Cup cars also get pretty squirrely down there on that dog leg on the flat part of the racetrack and coming back up onto the banked part of the track before turn 3. That really can upset these cars.
Absolutely, and it's even more so now with the new aero package that these cars have. We saw it Friday night at the Speedway that these cars are a lot looser than they have been in the past.
And these guys are running a little bit smaller rear spoilers, as you can see, as we work our first caution of the race, starting lap 5. Single car spin involving the 60 of Richard Swavely is the reasoning behind this caution. A couple of drivers did take this opportunity to come into the pits. Parker Bland, Clint Leatherwood, Joseph Mahar, James Kunkel, Richard Swavely clearly after going through after going for a big slide. Swavely's already down 1 set of tires. And the rest of them taking fuel only here. Not really too early to start thinking about fuel.
Absolutely. As Kerpel, I believe, went pit side to get fuel only that time as well. And that's something you normally see here at Phoenix, is it can very easily turn into a fuel mileage race. We've seen it in many other series that we've broadcast, that it's possible to have long green flag runs, and every ounce of fuel you can save or pack the fuel tank with.
Steve Kerpel, you see him there on your screen, and that's Skittles number 18 Toyota. Steve Kerpel, will be hearing from him, win, lose, or draw here tonight as the head of the MPI series. Just kind of put a nice little bow tie on this season 2 for the MPI Cup Series. We get set to go green here once again, about to start lap 7 as these cars double on up. Warren Keith and Zach Wilson in the front row. Wilson in control of the field in that beautiful winter themed number 38. Absolutely love that car. As pace car ducks off, heading coming out of turn number 4. Comes the field. There goes Zach Wilson. And we are back racing once again here in Phoenix.
Wilson Keith getting a great jump that time as Rogers now has to deal with Carl Burke. Finally gets the clear going into 1. Burke trying to battle back on that second lane. Early on with fresher tires, you can do that sort of thing. But as the tires start to wear off, that outside lane in turn 1 and 2 is not where you want to be.
Roger and Burke on the outside line now here through 3 and 4 as Rogers trying to maintain that inside line. Ryan Thomas has gotten his way up into the top 10, has just gotten past Daniel Holcroft in the 26. Bring Thomas up into the 8th position. So right now, as it sits, you have a battle for the championship right here. In third is a little bit of contact between the 51 and the 88 through turns 3 and 4. This is for second place in the race, but for the lead in the championship.
And they finally get it sorted out coming across the stripe as full send-it mode for Warren Keith. Here comes Rogers trying to battle back on the inside. They throw it down onto the dog leg. Keith has him covered, though, going into 3.
Yeah, we just showed you there, Garrett Brown got shunted up the hill just ever so slightly by Craig Burns going into turn 1. We'll see this here. Oh, pardon me. Wrong lap. My apologies. As we head back to live action, you did see though the 19 up in the wall. That drops him from the 5th position down to the 9th position. As this is your top 3 right now. Zach Wilson currently leading from Warren Keith, Ray Rogers, Carl Burke. As it looks like we have an incident in the back of the field here, as it might be James Kunkel. Yep, there he is. Because he's off the racing surface, we're going to stay green.
We stay green as Thomas looking to try to get by Lee right now, going into turn 1, full send-it mode for the 32. Gets the spot away, moving him into 6th.
Little tiny wiggle there from Dominic Lee coming out of turn 4 as 2, 3, 6, and 14 are where the playoff contending drivers are. And you can tell after that incident earlier on with Richard Swavely, these guys now starting to stay away from cutting that dog leg, deciding to take the line and stay on the banking instead.
They're not cutting it as much as they could. It's still early in the race, and they probably figured that, discretion being the better part of valor, trying to keep the tires underneath them. But, you get with inside 20 to go, Katie bar the door, they're going to be using every ounce of track that they can.
It certainly will be, as you see the battle for the lead here. A half a second lead for the 38 of Zach Wilson. The 88 of Warren Keith may not be winning this race, but he's where he needs to be. As just behind them, Craig Burns and Carl Burke having a little bit of a battle for the 4th position. Ryan Thomas now looking to capitalize as Burns a little bit slower coming out of turn 2. There goes the 32 for the 5th position. Burns giving him all the room he needs. Makes the pass done coming out of 4.
Gentleman driver for the 48. Making sure that he's not going to be that guy, air quotes, that costs somebody a championship. Just give him plenty of room, plenty of racing left in this piece. So Wilson, Keith, Rogers, Burke, Thomas, your top 5.
3 of the 4 drivers in the championship hunt running in that top 5. Here is the 4th. Dylan Hastings running pretty much by himself in the 14th position here. He has Matt Rogers in the 96 behind him. He's got a little bit under a second up to the 98 of Brian Fine, the 98, the teammate of the 38 and the 88. So may not be the easiest guy to get around will be Brian Fine.
And we're under caution again.
Yep, we are. As it looks like Clint Leatherwood. Yep, there's Clint Leatherwood in the 29. Austin Harger stopped on the inside wall.
Ooh.
Seeing Ryan Azell might have been a part of it as well. There he is, the 5. as we will take a look and see what happened here. Just coming out of one. Oh, and that wreck happens up ahead as it looked like Kerpel and the 20. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and then Izell does get a big piece of that. That wreck happens further ahead of these guys as it's Austin Harger and Steve Kerpel that collide. Well, that almost looked like Harger was expecting Kerpel to cut the dog leg and just came down.
And that's the issue that you run into with tracks like this, where there is an open dog leg, where you have that option. You race with somebody, you expect them to go down low, and they don't, or they have been, and then all of a sudden they don't because they don't get the exit off of out of one that they need to. You take the line that you normally do, and you've got to run on them, and all of a sudden they're there, and it's a basic physics lesson.
And you run into that problem a lot at tracks like Kansas and Chicagoland as well, where guys will cut that start-finish area there way down to the grass. And I've said it a lot during my races there in just open or in fixed or whatever. Just because most people do that doesn't mean that I'm going to, so don't just come down as if you're expecting somebody to do it.
And that was one of the things that used to wind people up whenever I was still driving, is I would normally put my left side tires on the line, not using whatever that open dogleg area, tri-oval area would be. So if you want to get by me to the inside, you're going into the dirty part of the track. And guess what? I'm going to be that guy. I'm not letting you back up if you get alongside me. You want to go down there, you can stay down there, and we'll wad the field for all I care.
It is that ethics part of racing, but as you had mentioned, there's really nothing saying that you have to let the guy up. It's more just a basic code of conduct.
Well, it's the same thing as like on the highway. You saw the same sign that said that the lane ended 2 miles back like I did. I got in the proper lane. You didn't. You're going to eat every cone on this highway before I let you in front of me.
Yep. See, that is why, working these overnight shifts, I've gotten so spoiled by not having anyone on the road with me that when I do drive in traffic, I lose my mind. But anyway, about to go back to green here, working our second caution on lap 20 of 200. This one a multi-car incident, as we saw, involving Clint Leatherwood, Steve Kerpel, Austin Harger, and Ryan Izell. So those guys now sitting towards the back of the field. As still, Zach Wilson, Warren Keith, Ray Rogers, Carl Burke, the top four. Ryan Thomas has gotten into the top five after his 13th place starting position. So, Tony, why don't you bring us down?
The field worked its way out of the 3-4 complex. Wilson going to have the button one more time as the pace car makes that left turn on pit road. Wilson waits till he can get it pointed straight before he pulls the trigger. We are back underway as the green flag comes out. Keith gets a great jump again as Rogers under pressure one more time from Carl Burke as they haul it off into turn number one.
And you can tell that those guys are coordinating. 1 and 2, again, teammates. As boy, look at Thomas cut that dog leg all the way down to the wall. Again, completely legal. The only thing that helped him do was really stay under the 53 of Carl Burke, who's going to run it a little wide coming out of turn 4. Thomas doesn't quite have the move cleared yet. Warren Keith, though, able to stave off the fight from the 51 of Ray Rogers. As boys, championship battle for second place right now.
Absolutely, as you got Keith, Rogers, and Thomas in lockstep right now, as there's about a car length and a half between Thomas and Burke. That's your battle from 4th to 5th. Keith has his rearview mirror filled with the two of the three guys he's got to keep behind him all night long.
Dominic Lee getting a little loose coming off of turn 4. That forces Trevor Maceti to his outside.
Maceti inside Rogers.
As Thomas really looking on that inside, kind of forces his way down to the inside of the 51, and that was one thing that Thomas said as the caution comes out. Yet again here, third time tonight.
Bland.
Double zero of Parker Bland. Appears to be okay. Might have just had a little spin. You can see a little bit of right front damage on that double zero.
He got into it with Kip easily going into 3.
Yeah, big side shunt there, and Austin Shoemaker getting a little piece of it as well. And that will be the third caution of the night. But going back to what I was saying about Ryan Thomas, as we're seeing guys now in entry, pretty busy place. As first pit stops of the night, lap 25. I couldn't imagine these guys are taking tires just yet, would you?
I'm not going to say no, but I can't say yes. It all depends on, whether or not in the last update they let you put an old set back on, because
fuel stops.
I know say again?
The fuel stops, everybody down and away, and Ryan Thomas actually beating Ray Rogers out of pit road there.
And you see, that's the thing is, in the real world, when they do limit your tires, they let you decide, okay, this set of tires isn't so bad, this set of tires isn't so bad. We could put these 2 takeoffs back on the car and get us to the finish if we need to. I'm not sure if iRacing has gone that route yet. I don't believe that they have. So, this is definitely something to be mindful of if you are going to take tires this early. I don't think any of our Championship 4 are going to be crazy enough to do so, as we're only, an eighth of the way into the books.
None of the Championship 4 took tires there. The 88 comes in and out first. As I had mentioned, Ryan Thomas jumping Ray Rogers, and that's the advantage, really, that Ryan Thomas has starting in the midfield. He gets an earlier pit box, so he gets to stop earlier. He gets his service done quicker, and he can get up to speed on pit exit, where a guy like Ray Rogers has to stay at pit road speed longer, get his stop done a little bit later, and he cannot get up to speed before pit exit.
As Bland and Holdscroft both stay out, so they're on a little bit different fuel strategy anyways than everyone behind them, and you can see there is a little bit of damage on the right front fender of the I have no idea what that is supposed to be on his car.
Sprunk. It's a GTA sponsor. It's essentially Grand Theft Auto's answer to Sprite.
Okay. I was about to say Splurt, but I knew that was the wrong sim.
It's
that was Second Life. But Bland going to have the button this time.
So Bland will lead them down. Bland came into pit on lap 3. Holcroft came in on lap 17. As there goes Parker Bland, we are back under green flag conditions here at Phoenix. Again, everybody's still on the same tires. It's just fuel strategy right now as Parker Bland leads them through. Dominic Lee on the inside of the 51 of Ray Rogers, looking to split the Championship 3 up, and a big dive from Ryan Thomas getting under the 88, and a little bit of a door slam between the 32 and the 88 going through turn 3. Thomas wants championship position.
Thomas wants championship position, and he was showing his desperation there as he was down on the apron on the entrance of 3, as he uses every little bit of the dog leg that he can, as Holdcroft has his rearview mirror filled with Zach Wilson right now. 32 finally going to get the clear, maybe.
Yes, he's got it now.
Now he has it going into 1. And gets a shit bumper.
Yeah, I don't think Warren Keith is too entertained with that move that Ryan Thomas pulled on lap 30 of this race going into turn 3. And I'm sure as boy Thomas getting really close to the back bumper of the 38 as well, slowing him up on corner exit. 38 gets loose coming out of turn 4. Championship 3 again. This is a battle for the 4th position between Thomas, Keith, and Rogers. Winner of these guys, the first finisher of these guys, is your champion.
And don't think for a second.
Oh, there he goes!
Oh!
Boy, you could see it coming as there goes Zach Wilson around.
The entire field doing a great job to avoid him, too.
I'm sure this is about as aggressive as we've seen Ryan Thomas all season long. It's completely understandable. There's a championship on the line. But he's made several rash moves early in this race. And here, just on lap 31, taking out the guy who had led prior to those pit stops.
His full send it mode going into 3, and I'm not sure if Wilson knew how close he was, but
oh no, Thomas throws it in there. He's on the apron going through. I mean, that's... And 2 guys from the same team, no less, in Keith, in Sega Keith Racing. Try to get it up here. This is the pass that Thomas had made on Warren Keith here earlier on. Just dives it up the inside in 3 and body slams him through the corner. And again, it's understandable for a championship race, but that happened on lap 28.
Yeah, that's a move that you would expect to see with like 50 to go.
Yeah, that's
not something you would expect to see inside the first 50 laps of a 200-lap race.
Thomas starting in that 13th position has gotten himself up into championship position right now.
And I'll tell you exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing a guy that's mad at himself for flubbing his second lap in qualifying, driving in desperation right now to try to get as far forward as quickly as he possibly can. And, we're just seeing things go horribly wrong. Luckily, it didn't affect Warren Keith, and it didn't affect Ray Rogers, and it didn't affect Dylan Hastings, because I can promise you, had that been the case, there would have been strong words after this event.
There still might be, as there's Zach Wilson at the back of this field with no rear bumper on that number 38 Miller Lite Ford. And again, that's Zach Wilson had led the entirety of this race prior to the pit stops under the previous caution flag. As we are getting set now to go back to racing doubled up. As we get set to go here, finishing up our 4th caution flag of the night. So it'll be Parker Bland and Daniel Holcroft once again up at the front. Again, Parker Bland coming in under the first caution on lap 3. Holcroft coming in under the second caution on lap 17. Everybody else behind them came in under the third caution on lap 24, all on their original set of tires. As the pace car ducks on off, about to go green here for the 5th time, about to start lap 36. Parker Bland gets a good jump coming out of turn 4. We're back to green flag racing. Bland and Holcroft 1 and 2.
As Thomas throws it to the inside of Keith and side by side through the dog leg. And here comes the 51 of Rogers to the inside as well. And don't count out Dominic Lee.
Boy, did you see how low Thomas took it through 3 and 4? That's going to allow Warren Keith and Dominic Lee around him. So that big move, and there's there's Dominic Lee getting hit by the 32 of Ryan Thomas. That moves him off the line. Parker Bland stays way up to the outside after a bad run through 1 and 2. Holcroft in the 26 to the lead. Warren Keith behind him.
And Bland's still not happy with what happened last week. You know that he's driving angry as well, as now he has Thomas right behind him.
And Warren Keith now trying to get to the race lead under the 26 of Daniel Holcroft. A big dive cutting that dog leg off, and it appears, it doesn't appear advantageous because he was beside of him going through, coming out of 2, and he ends up well behind him coming out of the dog leg.
And you can see just how unsettled these cars get in that transition going across that dog leg now. Part of it's the new aero model, part of it's the new tire model, part of it's the new suspension model that iRacing has thrown at these guys in the past week. But Bland is dropping spots left and right now, as I think he's used up all of his tires to try to maintain as far forward as he was, as Holcroft right now is got to be wondering, it's one of those pitchers duels that you see in baseball all the time. The guy's been throwing at your head for the first 3 pitches. Is the next one going in your ear, or is it going to be a strike?
Warren Keith not really pressuring the 26. Warren Keith does not need to win this race in order to win the championship. Right where he is right now is just fine enough, as Holcroft comes off of turn 2 a little bit wide. Top 3, there you see them running nose to tail. There's Ray Rogers sitting in the 4th position right there as well. Dylan Hastings, the 4th of the 4 chase drivers, running now in the 9th position. So all of these guys up at the top, up in the top 10, as Warren Keith goes under the 26. Ryan Thomas now sitting behind the 88. The 51 of Ray Rogers trying to get around the 26, 1st to 4th, possibly 1st to 5th for the 26th here in 1 lap, as Dominic Lee goes to the apron in 3 and 4, takes the position.
Lee up into, whoop, there it goes. That was Hastings. That was Hastings.
Oh, yes.
Coming out before.
Oh, and they're still piling into this wreck.
No.
As Hastings on his side at the wall, or at the start-finish line, gets on all 4s. But that right there will be caution number 5 of the evening here. And this one, I think, starts with the 60 of Richard Swavely. There you see him, and we'll take a look. This
no,
one
that
might
started
take...
with the 41. The 41 got it. Oh!
See the wreck 41. There happening in front. Yeah, there's Hastings getting loose. Swavely there. 12 gets it. The 18, the 58 just drives right into it. The 5 of Izell in his second incident of the night. There you see the 41 right in the middle of the screen. You see him getting loose, coming off of 4, hits the inside wall, and we had said that right at the beginning of the broadcast. But boy, just watch the 58 just drive into this. I believe the 85 and the 25 might have caught something at the back end of that.
They did.
That's as pit stops now in effect, and I would expect tire stops here for these guys. We're about a quarter distance gone, 4 sets of tires. I would expect tire stops here. Oh, maybe not for Warren Keith. He doesn't take tires. Oh, these guys, they're playing the tire game. They want their tires as long as they can take them. Ryan Thomas, however, does take tires in the 32. Boy, oh boy. Now, if you're the 88 or the 51, do you gulp seeing what the 32 just did, or do you sit there and go, we still have 165 laps of this left?
I am going to gulp and say, oh, that next pitch is coming at my ear. But I'm also looking going, he's taking his tires early. I can take mine late. So if there's a caution with inside 20 to go, I'm golden.
So take a little bit of pain early in order to reap the rewards later on.
Absolutely.
So seeing an issue with the 91 of James Kunkel. He might be just stopping to allow drivers to go after a penalty. I'm going to look back here at this. As I think that is just the case. I think he's just stopped to let drivers go. Yeah, that is the case. So the 91 of Kunkel going to the back of the field right now. James Kunkel, I believe, a lap down at this stage. Carl Burke decided to stay out under the last caution flag. Came into pit, however, after he had gotten a lap lead. This time he does the same thing but stays out as the field doubles up and gets ready to go. So the first driver we can see on fresh tires right now is Ryan Thomas, currently lined up in the 5th position in that 32. Carl Burke did take tires on his pit stop on lap 24, so his tires are better than the tires of the drivers around him as well. So expectations would be that the 88, 30, and 51 are going to be falling to the back rather rapidly here.
It all depends on what type of restart they can get. As the pace car makes that left turn onto pit road, Burke has the button, rolls into it, and we are back underway. And he brings the 51 of Rogers with him as Rogers to the inside of the 88 of Keith as they haul it off into turn number 1. And here comes the 32.
Yeah, that was an open lane there for the 32 of Ryan Thomas, who's having a little bit of connection issues right now. Warren Keith, now you can see him falling right to the back as there goes the 26 of Daniel Holcroft on the inside wall. Keeps it down there. Will we stay green? We will not.
Nope.
Caution comes out. And that's what we were talking about before, Tony, that transition between the banking of the straightaways and the flat, dirty part of the dog leg. And that right there is what sends Holcroft around.
He tried to put the power down a little too aggressively and just ate that inside safer barrier. And, that's something you hate to see for anybody, but that was definitely a wild opening lap here, as Rogers and Thomas both got by Keith, as did Dominic Lee. So you got to wonder about tire strategy now. as Swavely has put it on the hauler.
And you do have to remember that Warren Keith was stuck up on that outside lane. The 30 was able to come down with the start that the 32 and the 51 had. So the 30 was able to come down, the 88 was not. So that would be part of the reason why the fall for Warren Keith was so dramatic in that first lap, as you see up at the top there. James Kunkel getting his lap back on the Lucky Dog as we are about to complete quarter distance here in the Raze Energy 200, the championship race here, the final four. And if you're just joining us here, boy, you've missed a wild one, as championship hopeful Dylan Hastings was taken out in a wreck, spinning himself coming off of turn 4, and then just cars piling in, as would happen to do here at Phoenix. And
Still on the lead lap, you just got to wonder how much of that damage was he able to fix under the caution.
He is still out there running in the 21st position. There he is. He's pit farming it right now, trying to make up as much time as he can, but no hood on that car. Back bumper's just barely on there. As he's pit farming to try to get as much of that damage fixed on that 41 as possible.
And we've seen a wild one already, as if you're Carl Burke, you got to be a little gun shy right now, knowing that that 32 that's going to be restarting right behind you, he's not been afraid to use the chrome horn tonight a couple of times. And, with the 88 already having a bonus point for leading a lap, granted, it's going to come down to finishing position, but you got to wonder what's about to happen here on the restart as lights go out on the pace car.
You mentioned the 32 with the chrome horn, the 38 of Zach Wilson. There you see him. He was spun off the nose of the 32 in an incident that brought out the third caution of the night. He has worked his way back up to the 9th position in that number 38. So Zach Wilson, who started on the pole tonight, third quickest in practice, still showing that 38 has pace even without a back bumper on that car.
A lot better than it would have been had he hit the other end of the car first.
Yes, very true. As the pace car getting set to duck off here, Carl Burke will hold them down. Ray Rogers in second position. There goes Carl Burke. That allows Ryan Thomas to get through, but Dominic Lee looking as well in that number 30. Back to green flag racing. The 32 of Ryan Thomas on those fresh tires takes over the second position and the championship lead.
Rogers goes way high through 1 and 2, not wanting to get in anybody's way, knowing what the 32 has already done tonight. Wanted no part of that one. As Carl Burke right now looking to play spoiler of sorts here tonight, as Thomas all over his back bumper right now, as Burke sends it high through 1 and 2, and Thomas throws it low going through the dogleg.
Thomas, though, not able to put the power down coming through the flat section of the dogleg, has to back off. Again, Carl Burke does not have as good a tires as Ryan Thomas, but Burke does not have his original set of tires still on that car. Coming in on lap 25, he did put tires on that car, and as a matter of fact, just set the fastest lap of the race at a 26.78 for the 53 in the lead.
And that's one of those deals where clean air is definitely helping the 53. And you can see him running a little bit high coming through 3 and 4, able to carry a little more speed down the front straightaway, able to defend a little bit better. But here comes the 32 to the inside going into turn number 1.
And Carl Burke gives him about a London City bus worth of room as the 32 actually gets a little loose coming off the inside there. That's going to allow the 53 another run at him going into turn 3. But right now it is Ryan Thomas in the race lead in that number 32 PlayStation 5 Chevrolet. And Thomas will officially have led a lap And by the way, those drivers that are still on their original sets of tires, Dominic Lee, Ray Rogers, and Warren Keith, still sitting in third, fourth, and fifth. Not that far off as far as pace.
So maybe tire wear not as big of a factor on some of these guys as we were originally thinking it might be. But if you take a look at those guys, they're also running that Ford Mustang, and the Mustang is generally been a little bit easier on tire wear throughout the season.
When it's a little bit slower than all the other ones, you're not working the tires as hard. No hate mail plug? Okay.
No, because I have many, many different Ford analogies that I could throw in there, like the new F-150 comes with a heated tailgate, so your friends have their hands warm during the summertime when they help you push out of a snowbank. They spell Ford backwards. It stands for driver returns on foot. I can go all night, folks.
Going now for the third position is Ray Rogers in the 51, looking under the 30 of Dominic Lee. As Rogers able to make that stick on the inside lane here, still fighting between these guys, as Lee will now surrender the third position. A little bit of a wiggle from him. That allows the 88 to get through now. So Warren Keith, a little bit of contact between the 88 and the 30 coming out of the dog leg.
I don't think Lee realized that Keith was there.
He might not have. As you see the group behind them right now, that's Brian Fine in the number 98. Now, he has shown a lot of speed here this season. Came into the season about halfway through the year, has shown a lot of pace. He very well could have been a championship contender had he not missed the first half of the season. Same thing could be said for his teammate in the 38, Zach Wilson, who's still running very solidly in the 8th position.
With no rear roll pan on that car either.
As another guy who was a championship hopeful, Trevor Maceti, in that number 3. And we saw his championship hopes go into the turn 1 wall, at Indianapolis last week when he was in a playoff contending position. As Maceti now looking to try to avenge that outing last week at Indianapolis. Does have one win on the season. That was back at Kentucky, the last race before these playoffs started. So the 3 on a solid run of form as of late, but still looking for another solid run here to end out this season.
Absolutely. As you got Parker Bland in the top 10 as well, who we saw his championship 4 hopes dashed coming to the checkered flag last week in Indy.
As still seeing this battle here for the 6th position is Brian Fine and Trevor Maceti actually starting to catch up to this group here, as Fine now relinquishes that 6th position to Trevor Maceti. Up at the front, not missing much of anything, it's still Ryan Thomas and Carl Burke, the 2 guys up at the front on the freshest set of tires. Currently leading this event. Ray Rogers has broken away from that battle between Dominic Lee and Warren Keith. So that leaves the 51 sitting solidly in the 3rd position. And then here is what's now a 4-way battle for the 4th position between Dominic Lee, Warren Keith, Trevor Maceti, and Brian Fine. Then you have to go a little bit back to further back to get to Zach Wilson. Parker Bland currently battling with Craig Burns. That is for the 9th position, and sitting just outside of the top 10 is Christopher Fail in the 89.
And you got to think that, Fail is looking to make up for what we saw a couple weeks ago when he got eliminated as well.
Actually, I don't believe Fail was a part of the playoffs. Oh, as he gets a little loose coming through 1 and 2 there. That's going to allow Austin Shoemaker right up to the back of him.
I'm sorry, I had him confused with Easley.
Okay. as the 15 of Austin Shoemaker. This is, again, a battle for the 11th position, a four-way battle. Fail, Shoemaker, Brown, and Easley. As Garrett Brown, boy, this has been an unfortunate season for Garrett Brown. Came in, was running incredibly consistent at the beginning of the year, won at Michigan, led the point standings for a vast majority of the season, and unfortunately just in these playoffs has not been able to show, as he was eliminated after the first round of the playoffs at Dover.
And meanwhile, at the front of the field, that's Dylan Hastings, you see right in front of Ryan Thomas. The only problem for Hastings is he just went a lap down.
Yep, as there is the 41 getting lapped by Ryan Thomas, who's opened up a little bit more of a lead now over Carl Burke. That lead has stretched out to just over a second now. Ray Rogers sitting in the third position. This battle for this four-way battle for the fourth position has now split up into two different battles as Maceti was able to get around Warren Keith. Now Trevor Maceti has used one of his sets of tires back on the last caution on lap 44. As he is now going to make a move for the fourth position on Dominic Lee. Makes that position stick. And now Trevor Maceti in the fourth position, pardon me. That's what I was going for. Maceti in the three, up to fourth. Warren Keith, Brian Fine, two teammates currently sitting in the sixth and seventh positions.
And just kind of riding it out right now. Expect to see them put tires on right around lap 100. And this just in, Jason Clark and Steve Kerpel have both put it on the hauler for the evening.
Steve Kerr, both of those guys were pretty heavily involved in that last caution flag. As we go back up to the race lead, Carl Burke has actually pulled about 2/10 back on Ryan Thomas. And Thomas, he had said back in Indianapolis last week that he put a statement win at Indianapolis, said he wants to make sure that the Final Four goes through him. And with the speed he's had, now he has made some questionable moves here tonight, but he certainly has shown the power. But do remember, he is on a fresher set of tires than everybody else.
He is, but for his credit, Carl Burke is able to hang with him on 30-lap older tires than Thomas has. And Burke is starting to reel Thomas back in hand over fist.
Just going to look at the top five right now. There you see the stint length for those drivers. Now that unfortunately is not a correct. Sorry, that's including. That's the pit times that were there. That was not saying what tires that they were on. So unfortunately, that wasn't as accurate as I thought it was going to be. As this race, boy, has certainly settled down, and Carl Burke really starting to take a very good amount of time out of Ryan Thomas. And again, Thomas actually hitting the wall coming off of turn 4 there, but Burke, as you had mentioned, on about 25 lap older tires than Ryan Thomas, actually hunting him down here.
And that kind of goes to show you the type of driver that Carl Burke is. When it's time to go up on the wheel, Carl Burke is probably one of the best in the business.
Certainly is, and certainly showing you why, as he's now lost a little bit here on this lap. Again, Ray Rogers on an island by himself at this stage. He's got about the same distance in front and behind, which is about 2.6 seconds up to the second position and back to fourth. Trevor Maceti has up and ran away from his group. Now again, Maceti on the same tires as Ryan Thomas, who currently sits in the race lead. Dominic Lee and Warren Keith now in a battle for the fifth position. These guys still on the same set of tires that they started the race on.
And Keith looks like he may have preserved his tires a little bit better, as Lee a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 1. That's going to let Keith get to his outside as they haul it off into turn number 3 side by side. Keith with the advantage on that outside lane. We've seen that outside lane already start to pay dividends tonight as he's able to keep the power down a little bit more and keep it wound up.
What little banking there in turn 3 and 4 really helping Warren Keith there as Keith gets around that 30. And boy, Dominic Lee really having to fight that race car, the number 30. That's going to allow the 48 of Craig Burns to his inside as Burns able to hold it right down on that yellow line. And Lee, his rear tires, boy, as he wiggles again coming out of 4, still wiggling getting down the straightaway. His rear tires have completely let him down at this stage.
Absolutely. For those of you wondering what that car feels like right now, if you're in the snow belt of the United States, it's like trying to drive on ice.
Yeah, he's at, if I look at the throttle pedal levels here, it's going to snap on him. As we're seeing a little bit of an incident a little bit further back here, it looks like
caution's out.
Yep, caution is out, and that's why there's the 85 of Joseph Mahar, who was around in the dog leg. I believe Mahar might have been exiting pit road here.
Nope.
Actually, no, he wasn't. Here he comes through turns 1 and 2. And just gets a great run on the 96, who was trying to avoid getting into the car that he was racing. Mahar had to really hit the brakes, and that snapped the car right back around and then spins it out again, and this is where we picked him up here.
It's kind of one of those deals where you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. He was trying to stay off of... Yeah, he was.
Certainly was. As now pit stops are starting here. Thomas stays out. Wow, Ray Rogers in the 51 deciding to stay out as well. There's Warren Keith coming in. All of the
Dominic Lee stayed out.
So we still have 2 guys, and with the stage coming to an end, that's one thing we have neglected to mention here tonight. The stage ends on lap 90 here, so these guys are saying, well, we've only got a couple of laps to go until the stage. We may as well just stick it out and run until the stage. But Warren Keith has taken a different approach to it. He said, I'm going to pit now, so this way I don't have to pit during the stage.
And he's going to put himself on a little bit different fuel strategy, or take the tires now, take fuel then.
He's staying in his box. He might have been speeding on entry.
Let me go.
Oh, here he goes. Nope, there he goes.
No, four tires and a full boat of fuel.
So one would have to assume that at the stage caution at the end of lap 90, Warren Keith will not be pitting. And that will have him back up around where he was when he came in now. So that would explain why Rogers and Lee decided not to pit.
It's still a ballsy move from Dominic Lee. Especially with how loose that car has been on corner exit. You kind of got to stop the hemorrhaging at some point. And it's basically it's a free stop in about 7 laps, but how many more spots is he going to have to give up before then?
And Warren Keith now coming out in the 16th position. Your points leader, your champion at the moment, is your race leader, Ryan Thomas. Ray Rogers, the third of 4 championship eligible drivers, sitting in 2nd position. And this is what happened earlier on tonight with Dylan Hastings on lap 42. Spins the car out on his own, bounces up in front of Richard Swavely. The 12 piles in. Steve Kerpel, the 58 of Clark, piles in. Ryan Ezell. And unfortunately, that is how Dylan Hastings' championship hopes ended here earlier tonight on lap 42. So we're going to have a 5-lap dash to the end of the stage. Stage will come at the completion of lap 90. Ryan Thomas currently in the lead. Ray Rogers in second. Trevor Maceti third. Craig Burns in fourth. Dominic Lee and Austin Shoemaker make up row 3. Tony, bring us down.
Field works its way through the 3-4 complex. Pace car getting ready to make that hard left turn onto pit road. Thomas going to have the button. We've seen him be very aggressive here tonight. Pace car is in. Thomas holds him down, gets the thing pointed straight, pulls the trigger, and we are back underway as Ray Rogers now has to deal with the 3 of Trevor Maceti hauling it off into turn number 1.
Rogers does get clear of Maceti in the 3. Maceti now battling with the 48 of Craig Burns as Dominic Lee swings to the inside, is going to have to let the 3 go. And now Lee going to get way under the 3, and I think that move surprised Maceti a little bit as the 3 had to go way up through turns 3 and 4.
Well, with what he's been seeing Maceti do, or what Maceti's been seeing Lee do, you're not sure if he goes down there, he's not going to, put one into your door.
So Dominic Lee gets up into that 4th position. There you see Garrett Brown in the 19 on Austin Shoemaker in the 15. Shoemaker going to come down the hill through 3 and 4. Is a big slide for the 38 of Zach Wilson, and there's a wreck in the back there. It's the 26 of Daniel Holcroft and the 25 of Austin Harger. Caution is out again. But that looked like a big hit for Harger in the 25.
It absolutely was. Nowhere to go as the 26 just completely sideways coming off of 4.
91 of Kunkel gets a little bit of it as well. Dakota Curtis gets smacked by the 25. And that will put us under our 8th caution of the evening.
Dylan Hastings, I think, just saw his life flash before his eyes. He was finally able to get that thing woed up just barely in time to avoid it.
Now, I would have to assume that this is going to be the stage caution, as I think that right there is going to...
Yeah.
That might prove it there, as the entire field, except for Craig Burns and Trevor Maceti, come in. A couple of other guys deciding to stay out. Kip Easley in the 1, Carl Burke in the 53, Matt Rogers in the 96. Those guys all deciding to stay out.
Warren Keith came back down pit road.
That's surprising there. He might have come in just to top the fuel off.
That'd be about the only thing I would be doing at this point in time.
See the race off of pit road here.
Yeah, the car's not going up on the jacks. There he is, down and away. So yeah, Keith coming in just for fuel only, and
Zach Wilson came in fuel only as well in the 38. Ray Rogers took fuel only. I think Warren Keith, as here come the rest of the guys, Craig Burns, Trevor Maceti, Kip Easley. Those guys are all coming in now.
That's going to hand the lead of the race over to Carl Burke.
Yes, it will. Matt Rogers behind him. He's decided to stay out. Christopher Fail. Those guys came in under the last caution, so not surprising to see those guys stay out. Zach Wilson, Brian Fine, Warren Keith, all deciding to take fuel only. Ray Rogers did take tires. He took 4. Justin Hendry taking fuel only in the 28. Haven't spoken about Justin Hendry much lately. Solid run now in 8th position. And Ryan Thomas has used 2 of his 4 sets of tires here in the first half of this race, where Warren Keith and Ray Rogers have only used 1.
And I think that might come back to bite him in the backside later on, being as they only get 5 total sets, and iRacing doesn't let you build an extra set out of takeoffs like you can in the real world. Once they're off, they're gone. They're in the garbage.
So we are getting set to go here. This would be considered the stage caution. So Carl Burke leading, Matt Rogers in second position, Christopher Fail, Zach Wilson, Brian Fine, Warren Keith. The top 6. As Carl Burke brings them through 3 and 4. Tony, almost at halfway, bring us in.
Burke going to have the button as the pace car gets ready to make that hard left turn. We've seen Burke go early before. Where you want to keep your eye on, though, is row number 3, that red and white number 88. That currently is your championship leader. As we are back underway, and great restart for everybody. Here comes the 88 to the outside of Fail, and the 51 of Rogers trying to make some headway on Keith right now as they haul it off into turn number 3.
Now, if you want to play advocate here, the team orders could very well be in play here, or you could use team orders here, because Warren Keith, one of the drivers for Sega Keith Racing, currently sitting behind 2 of his teammates in the 38 and the 98 of Wilson and Fine, pardon me. So those guys could very much play a team game. Let me get the 88 around us and then try to block off the 32 and the 51, as here comes Ryan Thomas around the outside of Dominic Lee in the 30. Thomas battling for the 8th position right now with Lee. Boy, Matt Rogers really slow coming out of turn 2. That's going to stack everybody up. Warren Keith still on that outside, but it's going to be Ray Rogers who's the benefactor in the 51, going up into the 5th position. Going into turn 3, he's going to take down Matt Rogers in the 96 as well. Ryan Thomas now under the 88 as Dominic Lee gets a slide on. A lot of stuff happening here.
And that was one of the things I was about to mention when you said team orders. I know the guys on that team, and the only team orders they have are try not to kill each other, but if you are going to be in a wreck with each other, make sure it's a Sports Center highlight.
And this is, you're also talking championship here, as Warren Keith now does get a little bit of separation between himself and Ryan Thomas, but the man who has the most separation right now is this man, the 51 of Ray Rogers, who currently occupies the 4th position and is sitting a second to the good from his closest championship rival, the 88. And Rogers, we've seen what he's been able to do on the longer runs. Let him stretch his legs out a little bit. He's going to be really quick.
Keith looking to the inside of the 98 right now. Gets the clear on, excuse me, gets the 98?
That would be the clear, yeah, that's the 96.
96, sorry.
Matt Rogers.
Gets the clear on Rogers. Now has a little bit of breathing room between himself and Ryan Thomas, as now sets his sights on trying to reel in the 51 of Ray Rogers, but he's got a couple of cars in front of him as Rogers gets by Fine and picks off the number 3 spot.
There's Ray Rogers right there, and in all of this, Carl Burke has gotten out to a 2-second lead here over these guys as we're about to hit the century mark. Zach Wilson, who was the pole sitter, was taken out earlier in the race. He's back up to second place, still showing that pace that he had. And this was another thing that we had mentioned when we saw Ryan Thomas go up as quickly as he did. He was on fresher tires than anybody else. Now that he's on the same tires as his 2 championship contenders, he's not holding pace.
Definitely not. Again, I think he may have shot himself in the foot early because he did already burn through 2 of his 5 sets of tires. And it's going to come back to bite him in the backside later in this event, as we know that you can get some long green flag runs, and the best thing you can do is have tires in your pocket for a late race caution.
Ryan Thomas, one of the championship 4, was the points leader coming out of Indianapolis after winning that event in Indianapolis, now trying to fight just to stay into the top 10 with Craig Burns in the 48. That's going to move him outside the top 10. Austin Shoemaker also in the 15 now, going after the 32. Boy, it's night and day with what we've seen from Ryan Thomas as he almost door slams the 3, of Trevor Maceti.
Meanwhile, up at the front, Ray Rogers has gotten by Zach Wilson up into second, now sets his sights on trying to reel in Carl Burke. Of the championship contenders that haven't been involved in a major incident tonight, Rogers is the only one of the 3 that hasn't led a lap.
You're right. It's Warren Keith led a lap, the first one to lead a lap. We saw Ryan Thomas leading pretty much from the midway point of the stage all the way up until stage end. And Ray Rogers, he's been there. It's been those guys running right with each other. This is the most separation we have seen from these guys really since the green flag.
Absolutely, as Zach Wilson in the 38 starting to fade right now, and we're under caution.
Yeah, we are. I was just about to mention Kip Easley has had an issue in that number 1 Monster Energy Chevrolet. And we will see what happened here with Kip as just a big door slam with Justin Hendry going into turn 1 and not able to hold it on exit. And that is where caution number 9 of the evening will come from. And Carl Burke, unfortunately for Carl, sees his 1.8 second lead completely evaporate.
Absolutely. And if you are in the chats right now, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, share, turn on bell notifications so you don't miss a single minute of action here on ESPN. And while you're in the chat, let us know who you're pulling for. You know, are you a fan of Ray Rogers in the 51? Are you a fan of the 88 of Warren Keith? Are you a fan of the 32 of Ryan Thomas? Or do you think Dylan Hastings still has a chance? He is still on the lead lap, so stranger things have happened for the driver. The driver of the 41's not out of it yet.
And speaking of the chats, in the YouTube chat is Mike Thomas, who I believe is the spotter for Ryan. As Mike has said that Ryan Thomas has only taken 1 set of tires, and one of those times that he was in for what would appear to have been a tire stop was actually a damage fixing stop, a fuel and damage.
And that's not surprising considering as much as he's used that chrome horn tonight.
Some of the moves that he's made tonight. As Joe 24 ever rooting for Ray Rogers in the 51. Thank you, Joe 24 ever on the YouTube side of things. We certainly hope you guys are enjoying tonight. And as I say at the beginning and end of every broadcast, we certainly thank you all so much for making us a part of your evening for the duration of these races, for 15, 20 minutes, however long. We thank you for making ESPN a part of your night, as you've been treated to a very good race here tonight. The championship Season 2 finale for the MPI Cup Series here at Phoenix Raceway. As Ray Rogers, as he sits right now in second place, if this race were to end now, somebody doing a rain dance in the 51 pit would be considered would be your Season 2 champion right now, and fitting in the scheme that he's running right now.
Very much so.
As there is his closest rival, Warren Keith, in the 88 as the field doubles up. Warren Keith sitting in the 5th position right now. Ryan Thomas has fallen back to 14th on that green flag run, and we've seen what has happened to Dylan Hastings, who's currently right now running in the 19th position. Still on the lead lap is the 41, so
that's half the battle sometimes.
Stranger things can happen. Well, stranger things have happened, pardon me.
True story. As the field works its way through the 3-4 complex, Rogers and Burke on the front row. Rogers going to need to get the restart of his career right now as the pace car goes there to make that hard left turn. Burke has the button. Waits till he can get it pointed straight, pulls the trigger, and we are back underway as Rogers now under pressure from Dominic Lee as they haul it off into turn number 1.
Dominic Lee with that inside line. That's going to force the 51 way high, going through 1 and 2, and that's going to not just let the 30 go, but it's going to let his championship rival, Warren Keith, in the 88 go as well, as now Warren Keith is up into the 3rd position. Zach Wilson, his teammate, mind you, now sitting between those two as, boy, the 96 of Matt Rogers had a big slide coming out of turn 4. He's able to hold it. Still green.
Still green, and Burke starting to stretch his legs already as he's out to 3/4 of a second in about 2 laps time. Dominic Lee trying to keep him in check as Keith looks to the inside of the 30 now, coming out of turn number 4. Gets the pull down the front straightaway as Rogers trying to figure out how he's got to get by that Miller Lite number 38 of Zach Wilson.
Can't necessarily hit him in the bumper.
He doesn't have a bumper to hit.
As, again, this is where you say, could the 38 play a little bit of rear gunner for Warren Keith in the 88? Help keep that 51 behind. Try to slow him up a little bit to help you gain some time, if not position, on that 51. That could certainly come into play here.
Well, all's fair in love and racing right now, as you know, you got to do what you got to do. But you know, you talk about team orders. Warren Keith has to deal with the 30 of Dominic Lee, who is Dylan Hastings' teammate. So, you know, Lee doing everything he can do to try to keep Keith and Rogers in check so that Hastings doesn't fall too far behind.
So as Warren Keith currently sits in a championship position, Ryan Thomas, who fell back to 14th position on that last run, now currently sits in the 8th position. So whatever was plaguing that 32 on the first run has worked itself out. He's now fighting Austin Shoemaker for the 7th position. And going into turn 1, he will take it away from the 15. That 32 is back on the march.
And the 38 of Zach Wilson was 8 different kinds of sideways coming off of turn 4 that time. Ray Rogers had to step out of the gas to not clobber him. And that's let Warren Keith start to pull away from his teammate.
38 not doing anything drastic, but he certainly isn't making it easy for the 51 as Ray Rogers takes that 4th position away. But Zach Wilson's going to come and do the up and under, or try to anyway, and it's, boy, it looks inviting as what a dive from the 38 on the 51, and he will take that spot back, completely negating the statement I was about to make.
Full send it mode for Zach Wilson right now. He knows he's got the speed in that Ford Mustang. It's just he doesn't have the aero grip that everybody else has by having that rear bumper on the car like everybody else does.
And just that one little battle has put a 1.5 seconds between the 88 and the 51, as Ryan Thomas now working his way back into the picture, running in the 6th position behind Ray Rogers. Thomas and Rogers, the only 2 drivers to have won 3 races this season. Warren Keith won 2. He may not need to win this one in order to win the biggest prize.
You don't have to win the battle to win the war, but you've got to make sure you're within striking distance to make it happen in the closing laps of this piece. And these guys are doing everything they can to try to make sure those cars are as clean as they possibly can have them coming into the closing laps.
Looking through the chat right now again, Bryson Fitzgerald and Gavin Hibbs both showing
Brown
their
goes to
support.
38. Wilson got it all wrong coming through one, and just again, it goes back to not having that rear bumper. He's got a ton of downforce missing off the rear of that car. Tried to put the power down and was completely sideways coming through turn one.
We'll see what happened here in just a second for Zach Wilson. We'll go to him now. Here he comes. Boy, just put the power. You're right. Put the power down way too early. And fortunately for him, was able to save it as Ryan Thomas made a big move there also on Ray Rogers. That put him up into the 4th position, taking advantage of Thomas having to slow up for the 38. But still, even more importantly, there's a second and a half between the 88 and the 32 right now, but Thomas is coming.
And Thomas is coming on older tires too. He has years than the 88 of Keith and the 51 of Rogers, but these guys have about 60 laps on these tires, so they've worn all the goodie off.
Going back again to the chat, thank you to Bryson Fitzgerald, to Gavin Hibbs. Gavin Hibbs, a race winner here on ESPN with the iRacing E Super Speedway Series. Both of them showing their support for Ray Rogers. Mike Thomas saying that 32 took tires on lap 106. So a decent set of tires, a fresh set of tires, the freshest ones of the lot actually for the 32.
And that's what we've been seeing all night long, is if he's got fresher tires than the cars he's battling with, he's going to make that march forward. The question is, what's going to happen once the tires equalize here in another 40 laps? As Burke is not opened up the lead that he did last time on Dominic Lee. Lee's been keeping him, pretty honest right now, as Thomas really starting to reel in Warren Keith.
And to be fair to Carl Burke, there wasn't nearly the amount of battling behind him for second this time around as there was last. So Carl Burke holding this 1 second lead, still impressive, and Dominic Lee still able to hang right there, and you can still see it right here. First in points, second in points, third in points, all sitting line astern right now as they head through 1 and 2. Lap 124 of 200.
Keith, he's got to be watching that relative going, okay, Thomas is coming. He's got fresher tires. What do I need to do? As we are getting ready to start lap 125 of 200. And that Keith has a couple sets left. Thomas has a couple sets left. Rogers has a couple sets left. So the tire strategy is playing out similarly to how we figured it was going to. Look for these guys to come on down, get another set right around lap 150, and then if there's a caution inside 20 to go, you put your final set on and Katie bar the door. It's Saturday night short track action.
Saw the graphic there. Each of the last 5 laps, Ryan Thomas has been quicker than Warren Keith. Last lap, much of the same, however, only by 100th of a second. This last lap, as you're seeing Carl Burke now getting into a little bit of lap traffic. There's the 41 of Dylan Hastings is there. Austin Harger in the 25. Parker Bland in the 00. Up as far as cars that are set to be lapped here. Dominic Lee, since we last mentioned it, has actually fallen off by 0.2 of a second on Carl Burke for that second position. A little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 2.
Lee is starting to fall back into the grasp of this battle for the championship between Keith and Thomas, as Lee is. We've seen him burn the rear of the rear tires off quicker than he's burned the front tires off. So as he chases it down the hill coming off of 4, you got to wonder if he's doing that now. Did he go too hard too soon? That's his teammate that he's working by right now.
And you just saw a big wiggle from the 88 coming out of turn 2. That is going to put the 32 to his outside. They are 3 wide going through turns 3 and 4 right now. And boy, it's really close between the 88 and 32. They're going to have to push each other. That is for the championship lead. It might be for third place on track, but that is for the trophy. Thomas has it wound up in that second lane, is able to make the move stick. He has him cleared. Ryan Thomas to third.
And that's what Fresher Tires does here at Phoenix. As now they work on the 00 of Parker Bland. Bland trying to keep it as low as he possibly can, not to get in these guys' way. You got to think Warren Keith, he's playing long game right now. He knows that he's got another set of tires in his pocket, and it's going to take a few laps for Thomas's tires to come in. Lee has to chase it down the hill. That's going to let the 32 of Thomas get to his outside, coming through 3 and 4, side by side off of 4.
And Lee looks like he's getting ready to slide again, coming off of turn 4. Actually keeps it pretty well straight, as Ryan Thomas will now look to close in this 2-second gap to the race leader, Carl Burke. Battle for second here between these 4 drivers. 3 of the 4 in championship contention, as Warren Keith now getting to the back of the 30 of Dominic Lee. And boy, you're right, it's Lee really struggling to keep the rear end of his car under him on these longer runs, probably pushing pretty hard to get to Carl Burke, who actually, with now 2 laps of Ryan Thomas being clear, has actually put a little bit more time on the driver of the 32.
As Lee gets a little bit of wiggle coming out of 1, that's going to let the 88 get to his inside, thinks better of it, has seen Lee have to chase it down the track more than he's had to chase it up the track. Going to get him in his gun sight again and try to work on him going into turn number 1. Watch for Lee to have that wiggle again as he tries to put the power down. A little bit of a wiggle there again.
Not as exaggerated as it has been the last couple of times. Warren Keith put a little bit of a bumper to him, and both of those guys go up the track. That's going to allow Ray Rogers to go around both of them. And that's a little bit of frustration coming from the 88 of Warren Keith, unable to get around that 30.
That's a bit of frustration out of Warren Keith. It's not something you normally see him do. You got to think that, but it's frustration, and it's the last race of the season. The championship's on the line, and he's been seeing Ryan Thomas steadily walk away, and in his mind, that 30's holding him up, and he's got to do what he can to cleanly get by him and then regroup, knowing that he's got fresher tires in his pocket. He can reel these guys back in, as we are getting ready to put 135 in the books, as Carl Burke's lead that was over 2 seconds is now down to just over 1.5 seconds.
1.7 seconds the gap to Ryan Thomas, as Dominic Lee and Warren Keith still battling for the 4th position, and Dominic Lee not giving Keith a single inch, as these two still beating and banging coming off of turn 2. Keith just cannot get around that 30, and even going into 3 here still does not have the lane, and this has really got to be playing at the 88 here.
You got to think that he's starting to get gutted right now, being as he knows he's faster than Lee, but he can't get by Lee without turning him, and he doesn't want to be that guy.
Both of them, as we ride on board with Warren Keith, both of them getting loose coming out of turn 2, and he's able to pick that throttle up so much quicker than the 30. It's just, unfortunately, as is in racing, you may have a run, but you're running the same line. Oh, and another big slide here from Warren Keith.
Caught the apron going through 1, and that's going to back him up a little bit. And you can see the frustration really starting to show behind the wheel of the 88.
Carl Burke into pit road. Ray Rogers had a little bit of a moment there coming off of turn 4. You saw him down towards the inside wall, not typically a line you would see, but the race leader having a second and a half lead has given up that race lead now. He's on the same set of tires as guys like Rogers, Lee, Keith, Maceti. All of those guys on similar tire stints. Ryan Thomas has the fresher of the lot by about 15 to 20 laps on everybody else. So Thomas can stay out a little bit longer than these guys, but these guys will be able to pit sooner, and we've seen that undercut mean so much in races here lately.
And Lee is going pit side this time.
So that's Dominic Lee. Yep, there he is on the apron now. Finally, Warren Keith getting around him. As Rogers, the top 3 right now are the 3 that are going for the championship. Thomas, Rogers, Keith. First one to blink, I would have to assume, is going to be Keith, so he can make up some of this ground on these guys. Rogers deciding he's going to stay out another lap. Warren Keith doing the same.
And it's a chess match at 120 miles an hour right now for these guys. Thomas right now has got that 32 set on kill as he's coming up to put a lap on the 98 of Matt Rogers. And I believe that's the 25 as well. It is.
It's the 5 of Ezell that's on track in front of him. Now, Ezell has had a couple of issues here tonight, has been involved in 2 separate incidents. Has the driver of the number 5. And you're right, that is Matt Rogers a little bit further ahead of them. As we see Ray Rogers coming through 3, not showing a sign of pitting. He will stay out. Warren Keith is the first one to come in. So Warren Keith, the first of the playoff drivers to come into pit here, lap 144. That's what 57 laps to the end of the race?
That's what my math tells me. But, it's one of those deals where...
Oh, wreck up there. You just see it at the top of your screen, the 12. That is Dakota Curtis sitting the wrong way around the racetrack, and Warren Keith deciding to go through pit road there instead of losing a lap. Decides to just go through pit road, and that, honestly, that could hurt him.
Well, he did the right thing, because had he tried to go to his pit stall, he wasn't in his box when the caution came out. And with the iRacing penalty system, that would have held him for a full lap. So, heads up driving for Warren Keith, as right now there's only 7 cars on the lead lap. And he's the last one.
Yep, Warren Keith being the last one. Kip Easley was on the lead lap as well. He had come into pit road just as these guys had passed. Leaders are in pit road right now. As there's Kip Easley in the 1. Getting serviced. Here's the 32 of Ryan Thomas. Tires going on the 32. Let's see the 51. Would have to assume the same. Ray Rogers. Yep, up goes the right side of the car. This is money stop time here. See who gets out of pit road first. It is going to be the 32 of Ryan Thomas, closely followed by the 51 of Ray Rogers. And Warren Keith actually staying out. So there's a bold move from the driver of the 88. Could he possibly be coming in now? Below the line now. Yep, and he will come in now. Yep. All right, so with that, let's take a look at what happened with Dakota Curtis that brought out that yellow flag. Curtis battling, that's Christopher Fail in the 89, and Dominic Lee comes in on fresher tires and just sent him. And unfortunately,
Wow.
that's the difference between fresher tires being able to get in to a corner and old tires being able to get into a corner, and that's unfortunately what happens sometimes.
But allegedly, there's some big news coming to the league within a day or two. So Swavely firing a warning shot, not giving us the full scoop, but some big news in the works right now in the MPI Cup Series.
We'll certainly be looking at that and waiting on that with bated breath as we're coming up to about just over 50 laps to go. Ryan Thomas, the man you see on screen right now, if the race were to end here, would be your champion. Ray Rogers to his outside, Craig Burns, Joseph Mahar. We saw him spinning earlier on tonight, sitting in the 4th position right now, waiting for the rest of the field to catch up here. Looks like they're going to be going green regardless. Tony, bring us down.
As Thomas going to have the button as the field works its way through the 3-4 complex. Pace car gets ready to make that hard left turn onto pit road. Thomas holds them down coming off of 4. Green flag's in the air. Thomas rolls back into it, and we are back underway as here comes the 88 of Keith to the inside.
Yep, Craig and Ray Rogers and Craig Burns almost coming together going into turn 1. And you're right, Warren Keith is right there in that 88 discount tire Ford. As Keith now trying to get close to Craig Burns, who is putting a lot of pressure on the 51 of Ray Rogers. And Rogers, really unfortunately for him, not able to really put any form of pressure on Ryan Thomas.
Thomas, he had to have made an adjustment under that last caution to kind of free that car up a little bit, as we've seen him get a little bit better drive off the corners on the fresher tires than he has in the past. So you got to think with the closing laps, and I dare say we've seen the money stop unless we see one more caution come out. That was the money stop. So Thomas, Rogers, Burns, and Keith. Thomas, your race leader and points leader right now. Keith trying to figure out how to get up
Christopher
to...
Fail.
Oh, wow.
Hard into the outside wall coming through turn 4. We were watching that battle as you were talking about that, as you were talking about Thomas and Rogers, and Fail just pushed a little too much coming off of turn 4, and that really split this group up as Joseph Mahar able to take that 5th position away from Justin Hendry, who had held it for a split second. Now, that is the 98 of Brian Fine, who got caught a lap down, who is in this battle now.
Fine was one of those cars that, unfortunately, he didn't have the fuel to be able to stay out to get the wave around like some of these guys were. Hadn't been pit side yet, was already a lap down, had to go pit side, and unfortunately it cost him. One of the other cars that had the same boat was the 41 of Hastings, as he's currently riding in the number 20 spot.
As there you see Joseph Mahar in the 85, holding on to the 5th position. Right now, though, the battle for the lead starting to tense up just a little bit as Ryan Thomas and Ray Rogers, these two duked it out all season long, are on pace here for another world-class battle. 46 laps to go here for MPI Cup Series Season 2 here on ESPN.
Thomas and Rogers in lockstep right now as they're starting to put some distance between themselves and the 48 of Craig Burns, who holds down the number 3 spot. Warren Keith starting to fade a little bit. Not really having the setup under that number 88 right now, as all he can do currently is just watch the top 2 just walk away from him.
If I remember right, Warren Keith was about, I think it was 6th or 7th in practice. Meanwhile, Thomas and Rogers were 2 and 3 behind the 38 of Zach Wilson, who currently occupies the 10th position. So these two here battling for the lead have had more pace than the 88 just here on merit. That 88 might have needed a big swing or a big moment in this race to have come out on top of these guys, because this race is going pretty much how you would have thought it would have went if you looked at practice.
And if this thing had stayed green, it would have been interesting to see what would have happened with Keith on the fresher tires by at least a lap or two over Thomas and Rogers. But with those two guys in lockstep right now, they are a second to the good over Craig Burns, who sits in 3rd position.
And he was about 4 seconds behind Ray Rogers before he came into pit when the caution flag came out. By the way, Carl Burke, who did pit, was the first one to blink. Here he is battling between Justin Hendry in the 28 ahead, Dominic Lee in the 30 behind. Carl Burke, again, was leading there, now sitting in the 7th position, mired in traffic, as he's now trying to get around Justin Hendry in the 28.
And you got to think right now, if you're Ray Rogers' team, you're telling them just stay steady and just wait for Thomas to make a mistake, because it's bound to happen. Everybody makes a mistake. Just stay within striking distance, but don't stay too close so that you're not involved in that mistake should it happen.
As Thomas, I mean, we go back, and Thomas has put on so many impressive performances all season long in that 32. His first race in the 32 caution. Caution is out. This is caution number 11 with 40 laps to go. Right in front of the leaders, it's Parker Bland, who had an issue and is still having issues. As boy, Warren Keith having to take evasive action to try to avoid that under caution. So there is caution number 11 on the evening.
And Bland had help.
Going back to it right now is, here we go into turn 1. That's Dylan Hastings. And just met in the middle.
It's basic physics, folks. You know, two solid objects cannot occupy the same moment of the space-time continuum. And when they try to do so, one of them's going around.
Yeah, unfortunately, is we are here under caution, our 11th caution of the night, just under 40 laps to go. Ryan Thomas leading the race, and as it stands, the championship. We will take a quick break here on ES. Well, we'll do it after the pit stops here.
I'm going to say, everybody's coming down pit road to get that final set of tires, it looks like, or at least to make sure they've got enough fuel that if we go into overtime, they can make it.
As Ryan Thomas will lead these guys down. Ray Rogers, and again, as I had mentioned earlier in the race, having started back in the 13th position, he is the first car to get to his pit box. So he does have a little bit of an advantage, as, well, Craig Burns is going to win the race off of pit road. Dominic Lee comes in second. Maceti out third. And then you're right, guys taking tires, as Warren Keith just does nudge Ray Rogers.
Heath got by Rogers, but Thomas was still the top of those three out of the pit lane.
He was. And again, Burns, Lee, Maceti, those guys, as Lee now coming down pit road again. As we will now go and take that break. We're going to have about 35 laps to go when this race goes back green. Here on ESPN, we will take a quick stop and be right back. Coming back to the green flag here, we thank you very much for joining us on ESPN, and we thank you very much to our sponsor, Diecast Nuts, diecastnuts.com, and Tony will talk about them a little bit later on. But as we sit now, Craig Burns will restart this race with 35 laps to go. Trevor Maceti in second. Both of those guys not taking tires under this most recent caution. Behind them, the championship runners of Ryan Thomas and Warren Keith and Ray Rogers. As Burns goes, leaves the inside line wide open for Ryan Thomas. Ray Rogers sticks his nose down there as well. Second in place for Thomas. He's actually going to take the lead as Burns went way wide through turns 1 and 2.
Burns got it all wrong going through 1 and 2 as...
caution's out again, and yep, I could see that coming a little bit further in the back of the field as it looked like Matt Rogers, and yep, there he is. I saw it just before it flashed off the screen. That they were
Garrett
about
Brown catching a piece
4
of that
wide.
One too.
Yeah, they were like 3 or 4 wide coming out of the dog. Like, my goodness, look at this. Carl Burke getting hit by Christopher Fail. And, a big hit from Carl Burke. You see up at the top of your screen there, Garrett Brown going for a slide, as you had mentioned. But that was almost bound to happen.
Well, it's getting down to go time. We're closing in on 30 to go, and all the cards have been dealt, and whatever you got is what you got, and it's go time.
And I think now with this caution coming out, I think, Tony, it is the time for you to talk about our wonderful sponsor tonight here, Diecast Nuts, who has helped us so much over the course of the last couple months here.
Diecast Nuts is a community-driven forum for everything diecast. You can buy, sell, trade, share, brag about your diecast collections. They also have a shop area, which you're still within the window of if you're looking to get something for that special gearhead in your life for the holidays. Diecastnuts.com, that's nuts with a Z at the end of it, or facebook.com/diecastnuts. Go to their shop area and you get the special things that any gearhead would love to have, or for those of our friends across the pond, petrol heads. They would love to have, as you've mentioned, Frank, the signs that they have, those custom signs for the garage, beautifully done. But diecastnuts.com or facebook.com/diecastnuts, and let them know that ESPN sent you. While you're also shopping, now would be a great time to get that special person in your life something from our Teespring store as well, which there is a special promo code for the next couple of days. Use the promo code ESBN20 on our Teespring store. Link in the video description below, and you can get free shipping in the continental United States just in time for the holidays.
You just saw on the broadcast an incident that happened during this caution flag. Apparently Matt Rogers not too happy with how close Carl Burke was running him that caused that caution. And Rogers taking matters into his own hands, coming back up through the field under caution and spinning Carl Burke out. I'm sure MPI will be taking a pretty dim look at this, as I believe both drivers have now been sat out for the remainder of this race. As we get set to go back to green flag action here, we will have 30 laps to go when we cross the line to take the green.
Matt Rogers has been parked. Justin Miller has been parked. Carl Burke has not.
I'm not sure why. Who did you say was the middle one?
Miller. I don't have a Miller.
Yeah, no, that's.
Oh, that was the spotter for. Matt
Okay.
Rogers.
Okay, so there's that. All right, so coming back to green with 30 laps to go. Here it will be the two championship contenders, Ryan Thomas and Ray Rogers, leading them down. Thomas gets the wheel straight, fires it off. We're back to green flag racing here. Craig Burns gets left in the dust by Ray Rogers and is going to have to contend with Warren Keith going down into turn 3. Championship contenders, 1, 2, 3.
Keith full send it mode, and we're got spinners coming out of turn number 1. Wait, see who that was.
We're still green here as we're looking back at Garrett Brown, who was starting to tumble a little bit down the order. As that might have been it. This is Garrett Brown running in the 14th position now, trying to get past Ryan Ezell for 13th. And he will make that move stick on the outside lane. But up at the front, Ray Rogers has just set a purple first half of the lap, trying to get to the back bumper of that 32. This is the time. If you have it, use it. Ray Rogers, fastest lap of the race at 26.63.
And for what it's worth, Ryan Thomas was no slouch either, 26.806. So tell me that these two guys at the front of the field aren't trying to just flat get it. Warren Keith doing everything he can to try to hang with these guys, as all of them are a second to the good over Craig Burns, who has Zach Wilson working on him right now. We're back under caution.
Yep, there's Brian Fine in the back of the field. There is Fine coming out of turn 4 as we are under caution for the 13th time tonight. As we look at what happened to Brian Fine, as Kip Easley gets a little bit of contact with Hendry, and Fine just loses it on his own.
Well, there was a little bit of contact coming out of the dog leg between Easley and Fine. And then Fine was straddling that yellow line coming through 3 and 4.
Spun himself off.
And spun himself off is right, because that's not something you want to do. Either have both tires or both sets of tires above it or below it. Don't try to straddle it.
So, boy, these guys just don't want this season to end. As I mentioned, under our 13th caution of the night, 25 laps to go. When we hit the line right now, Ray Rogers looking as though he's going to come in, and Ray Rogers surrenders the second position to come into pit. This could either be a genius move or a boneheaded move.
I'm thinking genius, because he is going to have the freshest tires on track. We are 25 laps to go, and remember what I told you at the beginning. If you've got them, use them.
But has he left himself enough time to get back up to the front? At this rate, we're probably going to be going back to green with about 22 to 21 laps to go. Is that enough time to make his way through, 13 cars? Well, actually, he's in 11th place right now. That's 10 cars, and he's really going to need to drive the wheels off of that thing if he wants to get back up there.
But he's going to be able to, is the point, because he's going to have that fresh rubber. He's going to have the freshest rubber of anybody in front of him. So only time's going to tell. And we saw it work for Ryan Thomas. Early in the race, he was 20 lap fresher tires than everybody around him, and it worked for him. He's trying to see if it's going to work for him now.
We're going to... I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. While, yes, you are 100% right that he could use his tires, not really worry, he's got the freshest tires out there, everyone else is still going to be driving. So he's not only going to have to pass these guys, he's also going to have to make up the gap that Thomas and Keith have put on him. And on, 15 lap fresher tires, we haven't really seen the fall off be too dramatic, at least for the drivers at the front. Can he, if he gets there, can he make up the gap?
Only time's going to tell. And the thing is Rogers, has his give a damn finally busted? And, is he going to be able to use that chrome horn like we saw Ryan Thomas use earlier, like we've seen other drivers use tonight? You don't know what somebody's capable of until they're put in a situation where their back's against the wall. And right now, if you're Ray Rogers, you realize that Ryan Thomas, they're on the same tire strategy, you're not going to get by him. So you've got to gamble.
Joe24 Ever in the YouTube chat saying, I don't know about that, but I trust Ray is confident in the decision that he's made. Well, he's going to have 22 laps to see if he can get it done. Ryan Thomas, Warren Keith in the front row. Zach Wilson, and remember what happened with Wilson and Thomas. This would be a very interesting time for a receipt as we go back to green flag racing. 22 laps to go. Warren Keith get a good jump. He's going to look to the inside, not close enough to make a pass.
Not close enough yet, but you got to think he's got to be remembering what happened to his teammate. And there we go. We're back under caution.
Yep, caution is out again.
Parker Bland.
Just making sure that there's Parker Bland, there's Trevor Maceti as well. I believe Dakota Curtis was involved in that as well, and he was. There he is. As we'll see what happened here as we're under our 14th caution of the evening. 3 wide going into turn 1, and that happened right on the outside of Ray Rogers. That could have made that decision completely null and void.
And this just in from race control, they have changed to single file restarts.
Oh, and that just made it harder for for Ray Rogers. If I were him, I'd be furious over that decision. Instead of being 4 cars technically behind the race lead, now you're 7. With less time now, I would be furious if I were the driver of the 51.
I'm glad we don't have an open mic in his racing simulator right now.
Oh boy, and that also eliminates what I had just said about the 38 of Zach Wilson. Remember, Ryan Thomas spun Zach Wilson earlier on in the race. That's how he got the rear end damage that he has. Starting right behind Thomas, that was the perfect chance for a little bit of a receipt if he were to give it.
Yeah, but the only problem is he had to be very careful because his teammate was
Yep.
there as well. Uh, Now, the question is, if you're Warren Keith, as soon as that pace car twitches, do you just mat the gas and turn Thomas, or try to jack him up and hope he spins the tires and then try to take an evasive action around him? There's so many different things that could take place right now that you know I'm glad I'm not a Vegas odd maker at this point.
And we've heard from Matt Rogers in the YouTube chat as far as what happened between him and Carl Berg, saying he's just got tired of being wrecked every race, and he has been involved in quite a number of other people's mistakes this season, and the last race of the year it finally boiled over.
Can't say I blame him. And we've seen that in other series as well. Drivers just they spent the entire season trying to not be that guy and just get pooed on.
So, as Tony mentioned, single file restart for the remainder of this race and for the remainder of this season. That puts Ray Rogers at a serious disadvantage here, and that also puts his decision to come into pit under a mega microscope, because now he's essentially put himself from second place all the way down to eighth.
I'm not. Had we stayed, well, it probably would have been a better decision. Now that we're going single file restarts as the lights go out on the pace car, he just made it a whole lot more difficult for himself. Especially considering you take a look at the guys that he's going to be restarting around: Justin Hendry, Garrett Brown, Joe Mahar. Those guys are no slouches.
No, they're not. As you see these guys lining up in the dirty line, in all the marbles, on the outside line. You can only pass on the outside prior to the green flag. There goes Ryan Thomas off the outside lane. A big spin of the tires from Warren Keith. That moves him down into at least third position. Austin Shoemaker there as well. Look at the dive by Ray Rogers going into turn one. He gains himself a position. Now he's looking to get another one from Joseph Mahar in the 85, and that tire slip has given Ryan Thomas the breathing room he needs with 16 to go at the line. Christopher Fail. That might bring out another caution. It does. It's Christopher Fail in the 89. There's the 41 of Dylan Hastings. And Tony, again, this is just a case of pushing too hard off of turn 4. And just a little bit of a wiggle from Dominic Lee. Kip Easley did the same thing. Trevor Maceti gets caught up in it. And Hastings, boy, putting the binders fully on. Stopping in that little Bermuda Triangle there.
Ryan Zell in the 5 is not happy.
We didn't see what happened to him. Let's see if
he got run flat over behind.
Yeah, we got it now. That's Dakota Curtis running behind him. And yep, Dakota just runs him right over coming out of turn 4. There's really no questioning in that. As that's what's happened to the 5 of Ezell. Now Ezell's sitting in the 17th position. A lap down, 2 laps down to the race lead. As we are under caution number 15 of the evening. The last time we approached this caution number was back at New Hampshire several months ago, and that race was won by the 32 of Ryan Thomas. as again under our 15th caution of the night. And Tony, this is how much of this right now could be wearing on these drivers as far as let's just get this race over at this point.
Well, I mean, if you're Ryan Thomas, you want this race over. If you are anyone else, what the hell just happened? Wow, Warren Keith went pit side.
And that's Warren Keith pitting from the 3rd position. And that will promote, wouldn't you know, Ray Rogers up to 3rd. I mean, that's, if Ray Rogers can win this championship, after making that move that he had made, just, I mean, that would be absolutely incredible. To come into pit from 2nd position, have the restarts be changed to single file and still come back with less than 20 to go, mind you, to come back and take the championship. That would be one heck of a ride from the 51.
I dare say that we're about to see the drive of the year if it happens.
That is, I mean, this right here, this is what we want to see here. A very close, tight championship run coming down between the best that this series has to offer. Ryan Thomas, Ray Rogers, they certainly have been the best this season. Can Rogers get a good restart? Can Thomas get a good restart here? Coming off of the high lane through turn 3, 11 laps to go. When we hit the line, there goes Thomas. Race back on Austin Shoemaker, splitting the 2 championship contenders. 11 laps to go.
Rogers has to get by Shoemaker as quickly as he can, as safely as he can. And right now, Ryan Thomas has got to be loving the fact that he's got that 15 between himself and the 51 of Rogers, as Rogers filling the rearview mirror of Austin Shoemaker right now, trying to get by him any way he possibly can. Coming out of turn number 4, gets the run, not going to be able to make it happen going into turn number 1.
A little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 4 as well from the 51 of Ray Rogers. He might need to dive it down here, and he does. Takes the shortcut through the dogleg, as now he's on the inside, but not under the 15, as that dogleg seems to be more of a hindrance than an advantage. But now he has the inside as both cars push up. 51 was able to collect it a little bit sooner. Now with 9 laps to go, the race is on.
Full send it mode for Ray Rogers. Shoemaker gives him plenty of room. Here comes the 30 of Lee as well. And you hit the nail on the head about a lap ago. Shoemaker able to keep it wound up, not having to deal with that transition from the apron back to the racing surface, as Rogers now 3/4 of a second trying to reel in Ryan Thomas. Yes, he has fresher tires. Thomas has the clean air.
Ray Rogers came in on lap 175. Ryan Thomas last came in on lap 162. So there is a 13-lap difference, but with the amount of cautions we've had in that time, there really isn't much of a wear difference. And in this one lap, Ray Rogers has been able to pull back an entire 0.2 of a second, a 26.75 to a 26.96. As Rogers really putting the pressure on that 32. The question is he going to have the time to pass him?
And we've seen it time and time again. Getting to someone is one thing. Getting by them is another. As the laps are really winding down now. 6 to go this time. Ryan Thomas shows the way after starting 13th. Ray Rogers may have shot himself in the foot, we thought, about 15 laps ago. Rogers right in lockstep with Thomas as they haul it off into turn number 3, and they are starting to really pull away from Austin Shoemaker right now.
Rogers only gained about 1/10 of a second the last lap. This time by, he's gained a little bit more than 1/10 of a second. Warren Keith, the other championship contender, came into pit. He was running in 8th position out of the restart. He has gotten himself up to 5th. But the battle is for the race lead and definitely the championship as we come down to 4 laps to go. Could this is bump and run territory? It's got to be.
That's the only way that Rogers is going to get by Thomas, is to give him the chrome horn, not try to turn him, just get him out of the racing groove.
It's just, we've seen it all night long. It's just so hard to get that run on corner exit that you need to get into the entry of the next corner on the inside line. Both of those guys doing a fantastic job of keeping it pinned down on the yellow line, running almost identical lap times, a 27.15 for Rogers, a 27.18 for Thomas. Thomas gets a little loose coming off of turn 2 on those older tires. Rogers goes to the inside. He has the line going through turn 3. He's gonna get about as close as you could possibly get to somebody. Side by side, 2 laps to go. Battle for the championship.
Popsicle sticks in the air. Those guys were in lockstep last time across the stripe. Give it the nose to Thomas. 32 1,000ths of a second at the stripe. Rogers still working that inside. Going to take as much of the dog leg as he possibly can to try to get this track as short as he possibly can. Full send it mode going into 3. Thomas with it wound up on the high side.
That pushes Ryan Thomas up and out of the groove. That will move Ray Rogers into the race lead. With the close racing we saw the entire 2 laps, they were side by side. You thought it was bound to happen. Ray Rogers coming now through the dogleg. He has half a track to go as Thomas trying to make his way up back to Ray Rogers. It's not going to be enough time. Ray Rogers wins the Raze Energy 200 at Phoenix, and with it, the Season 2 championship for the MPI Cup Series.
With 15 laps to go, we both thought that Ray Rogers shot himself in the foot, especially when they changed to single file restarts. He was able to get to Ryan Thomas. He was able to get inside Ryan Thomas, and he was able to get Ryan Thomas up out of the groove. Thomas going to give him a shot of the chrome horn as they come down to collect the checkered flag. Austin Shoemaker able to hang on for 3rd. And what happened to Warren Keith?
Warren Keith had a little bit of an issue as Zach Wilson, his teammate, had spun it. We'll show you that a little bit in a little bit here. But right now the focus is on Ray Rogers, and you're right. Just the drive that he had to take to come from the 8th position all the way up to the race lead like that. And again, single file restarts, making it that much harder. He deserves every second of this burn down. And with that, here he is, the Season 2 champion, Ray Rogers. Ray, we're speechless up here, bud. Congratulations. What a drive.
Yes, sir. It was tough. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do it and get around Ryan there, but I think he got a little loose right there, and I was able to get underneath him, and I was able to hold him off.
Now, on that, the caution with, I think it was 18 laps to go, what was going through your head? You're stuck in 8th position on the fresh tires, and they say we're switching to single file restarts. What's going through your head when that call comes down?
I was nervous because that puts me further back, and I was like, I knew I had the fresh tires. I knew the chance was there to get up there. But the 2 cautions that came out, I knew I needed some. They came out when I needed them, and I was able to get up there, close to Ryan. And I knew with the fresh tires that that I had a chance to get around him.
Did you think, were you kind of in the mentality of, okay, I'm going to need to bump him to get around him, or did you think you could pass him straight up? You guys were side by side for 2 laps, and you had the preferred line. Did you think that you were going to be able to edge him out at the end?
Yeah, I thought, I was in my mind that I could because I had the fresher tires. When you get on the outside like that, you do get loose, and I knew he had about 15 to 18 old laps older tires, so I knew if I can ever get underneath him that I had a good chance of edging him out.
You've had an absolutely fantastic season. Your first win of the year was a dominating performance at Texas. We're one of only 2 drivers to win 3 races this season going into tonight, this being your 4th. You've won a third of the races, actually a little bit less than a third of the races here this season. Just a great performance from you all season long. When you think back on this season, besides the championship, what are you going to look back on as far as, wow, this was a great performance?
I don't know. I mean, it's just, I come into every race, obviously to win. I think that my first one was Texas. I mean, that's something to really look back on. I mean, there's so many things I can look back on to appreciate, but this win right here is definitely something that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and so, I mean, really no sense in asking about next week because, this being the end of the season. So what are your thoughts going into season 3 with this championship under your belt?
I'm excited. I'm actually going to be on a team next year, so that was exciting. This year I ran solo, so it wasn't hard, but it was, it's nice to have teammates to help you out when you need them. But next year I'm definitely going in with a team, so I think I'm going to be even stronger next year.
Well, we certainly, I don't know how much stronger you could be with a championship under your belt, but anyone you want to thank before we let you go and celebrate?
Just people that that watch you guys, my family that puts up with me coming in here every single day and doing this, and the MPI. I mean, it's nice to have them on board, and just thank everybody.
All right, there he is. There is your season 2 MPI Cup Series champion, Ray Rogers. Sir, congratulations.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Right, and so with that, Tony, you're going to have the next 2 here with Ryan Thomas and Austin Shoemaker. So here is the second place finisher tonight, Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, I know it wasn't the finish you were hoping for, but all things considered, that was a hell of a battle that you guys put on coming to the closing laps of this piece.
Yeah, we were side by side. I could see his steering wheel out my left side window. We were so close.
Now, when there was a caution about 20 laps to go, and you saw him duck down pit road, did you think he was going to be able to get back to you like he did, or talk us through that?
I did think he was going to get back to me if we had a bunch of cautions, because under green, I think he could get back to me. But since all the cautions kind of helped him get closer and closer, because like most of those restarts, we got really spread out.
But talking about getting spread out, we saw you come in early, get a little bit off cycle during that first segment, and you just opened up a lead that a lot of people didn't know if they were going to be able to overcome you had this thing not turned into the race that it turned into.
Yeah, on that first stage, taking tires there was an accident, but somehow it ended up helping me in the end, almost.
So, moving forward, I mean, there isn't a next week, but there is a next season. Your thoughts moving into season 3 of the MPI Cup Series?
Yeah, I think next season will be really fun. We'll probably have a full 43 car field next season. And I'm hoping hopefully bring the ship home next season.
All right. Well, Ryan, is there anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
I want to thank my team for helping me with strategy and giving me updates on what Ray was doing and all the other championship four. Helped a lot during that race.
All right. Well, Ryan, again, not the finish you were hoping for, but all things considered, you can't be too disappointed with three wins on the season, and you led a ton of laps here tonight. Just unfortunately came up just a tick short. Best of luck to you next season, sir.
Thank you.
So there is. So there is your second place finisher, Ryan Thomas. Now, we interviewed this guy a couple of weeks ago, had a good finish, snuck his way up into the top 3. Tony, you have Austin Shoemaker with you.
I do have Austin Shoemaker with me. Started 12th on the field, coming home in 3rd tonight. Hard fought battling all night long. Congratulations on the podium finish in the season finale tonight, Austin.
Thank you, guys.
Now, talk us through, how difficult it was to really make something happen in traffic here tonight. How big was the tire wear?
It was pretty big. Throughout the whole night, the track was real slick. You had to be patient pretty much. Just make sure you stay out of making any mistakes.
Very fair. Now, what was going through your mind when they changed from double file restarts to single file restarts with about 15 to go?
Well, my teammate Ryan Thomas, he was leading the race there, so it seemed a little beneficial for him. It made sense because we had probably 13 or 14 cautions tonight, so mix up the strategy a little bit. He got off to a pretty good start there, but then it looked like Ray was able to make a pretty good charge there at the end.
And you saw a couple of the championship contenders go down pit road in the closing laps. Were you kind of ready to play blocker if you had to help Ryan as much as you could, or was it just something you were going to try to just make sure you were going to run your race and get as many points as you could?
Right. I was trying to help Ryan any way I could. Wasn't necessarily trying to block. I was just trying to be an extra car that Ray would have to get around. He passed me clean, and I just try to stay high once he got the inside on me. So, props to both of those guys for running a clean race.
And moving forward, season 3 of the MPI Cup Series just around the corner on the other side of the holidays. Your thoughts going into season 3?
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. Sounds like there's a lot of returning guys that have a lot of interest this year. And props to all the admins for getting us all together for another season. Looking forward to it.
All right, Austin, is there anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yep, I'd like to give a shout out to my dad who couldn't make the race tonight. Hope he gets to feeling better. My uncle David for tuning in. Gary, who I know is watching as well. And of course, thank you guys for broadcasting the MPI series for this season.
Well, Austin, again, congratulations on the podium finish tonight, and looking forward to seeing what you can do in season 3 of the MPI Cup Series.
All right, thanks, guys.
So that was Austin Shoemaker finishing in the 3rd position, and with the end of the season, this is something we like to do here at ESPN to bring the leader, the one who brings everyone in here, has brought everybody together all season long. Steve Kerpel. Steve, here with us in the booth now. You have to be so proud of the way that this season has gone down and with how this championship race has gone down as well.
Yeah, Frank, I'll tell you what, we got, in my opinion, these are the best guys around, week in and week out. clean racing. Everybody's super professional. Everybody gets along. And like you said, I couldn't be more proud than a group of guys that we have than the guys that are out on the track every week with us.
Just your overall thoughts. You were not the lead admin coming into this season. It was Dakota Curtis, and then it switched to Chris Wilson, and then both of those guys, as we've seen here at ESPN recently, real life gets in the way. You ended up with the lead of MPI, and it's really under your watch. It's been running about as smoothly as it can, and we've seen great racing every single time out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Frank. It takes more than one person to put one of these on. I got to thank all my admins. We got about 7 guys that every week, they're the guys behind the scene doing the work. I can't do it myself, and without those guys, it wouldn't be what it is. I'll tell you that. And for every driver that's in our league, everybody's dedicated to racing clean. We all get in and we run a mandatory practice every week. Those are the guys that really put on a good show. So I definitely got to thank everybody that's a driver out here.
As you look back now with the end of season 2, as you look back and reflect on what a season it's been, what is your biggest takeaway from this season?
You know, the beginning of the year, I had a vision that, we were going to have a lot of wrecks. And I'll tell you what, I've seen some of the cleanest races. That Auto Club race we ran with a nose-to-nose finish was awesome. I've seen more probably fun races in this league this year than I probably watched on NASCAR on TV, and it's been awesome.
It certainly has been an absolutely phenomenal season. Now, closing the book officially now on season 2, you have a champion. Going into season 3, a little bit of a bigger schedule going into season 3. What are your hopes for the season upcoming?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a longer schedule. We're going to be introducing multi-stage racing back into the series, and it's a blank page. It's a blank page. I mean, I definitely won't take anything away from Ray Rogers. He ran a heck of a year. He was dominant most races, and he definitely deserves this. But it's a blank page, and everybody gets to start fresh. So I'm excited to see what happens.
And finally, we know you have a ton of people that you want to thank. So go ahead. The floor is yours for who you want to thank.
Oh, absolutely. First, I definitely want to thank you guys for broadcasting, getting the name out there, getting us on the iRace portal. That was huge. So big shout out to you. I got to thank all my admins, Dakota Curtis, Chris Wilson, Craig Burns, Jerry Culver, couldn't be with us tonight, Parker Bland, Warren Keith, Garrett Brown. You guys are awesome. Thanks for backing me up when I need it during the week. And I want to give a huge shout out to, like I said, everybody in this league. You guys are dedicated to being professional and putting on a great show every week. And everybody that watches, if you've ever watched one of our races, thanks. Without the viewership, we wouldn't be where we are now, and we're really excited for see what season 3 brings.
All right, Steve, thank you very much for one heck of a season. Best of luck to all of you in season 3.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it.
And with that, in season 3, unfortunately, we will not be a part of season 3. MPI has decided to go a different way, but boy, they certainly put on one heck of a show in the time that we've spent with them.
Absolutely. I mean, week in and week out, some of the best full-fendered stock car drivers in the entirety of iRacing have done battle. And when the smoke finally cleared, congratulations to Ray Rogers standing atop that pile. Just hard-fought racing week in and week out, lap in, lap out. No quarter asked for by any of these drivers, no quarter given. And every position was hard fought and hard earned.
It certainly was, and we saw that all season long from the time we stepped in, I believe at round 4
Yes.
of their season. Boy, oh boy, they put on one heck of a show. But to that aforementioned pile, we go to the finishing order here tonight. Ray Rogers, your winner here for the Raze Energy 200 and champion for Season 2. Ryan Thomas finishes in the 2nd position. Austin Shoemaker 3rd. Craig Burns coming home in the 4th position. A great run for Joseph Mahar coming home in the 5th position tonight. Garrett Brown, Justin Hendry, Dominic Lee, Parker Bland, and Kip Easley rounding out the top 10. Dylan Hastings, Brian Fine, and Warren Keith, who had a wreck at the end of the race. They're trying to gain as much time and positions as he can, comes home in 13th.
James Kunkel being the last car scored on the lead lap in 14th. Zach Wilson in 15th, the first car 1 lap down or more. Ryan Easel in 16th. Dakota Curtis in 17th. 18th sees Austin Harder. Chris Fail in 19th. 20th it goes to Trevor Maceti. Carl Burke in 21st. Clint Leatherwood in 22nd. 23rd sees Dan Holtzcroft. Jason Clark in 24th. 25th goes to Steve Kruppel. Richard Swavely in 26th. And 27th goes to Matt Rogers.
And Matt Rogers gets the 27th position after being parked after that incident under caution with Carl Burke. So with that DQ, that moves him down to the last of the running drivers. So we thank you all so much for an absolutely incredible season here for the MPI Cup Series. Like I said, unfortunately, we will not be moving on with them, but we wish them the best of luck in their 3rd season because they put on a bunch of great racing every Sunday night that we have had them this year. So with that, we'll quickly wrap up here with our remaining schedule for the series. Again, for those of you who were wondering about the Chris Cup race at Talladega earlier today, we had some technical difficulties that made us unable to broadcast that race. So we do sincerely apologize for that. We will be back with them next week. But starting on Tuesday, it will be the OSRA Elite Super Speedway Series, their 2nd round at Talladega, starting at 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. On Wednesday, it will be a makeup race, the Sim Racers Edge Alpha Series Round 9 that was supposed to happen last week at Watkins Glen will now be happening this week. On Thursday night, it'll be Tony and myself in the booth at Talladega for the 6th round of the USRA Cup Series season. On Friday night, it will be the iRacing East Super Speedway Series season finale at Daytona International Speedway, 100 laps to crown a champion just prior to Christmas. Round 4 for the E-Formula 3.5 Series will be held at the Suzuka International Racing Course for the Japanese Grand Prix on Saturday afternoon. Next Sunday will be Chris Cup the Chris Cup Sim Racing Series Round 7 from the Texas Motor Speedway. So again, we thank you all for making us a part of your night. It has been an absolute thrill to broadcast this series for as long as we have. If you're on Facebook, be sure to like us and the stream. If you're on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us and like the stream as well. We certainly do appreciate it. But so for my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I'm Frank Marchese. Congratulations to your champion, Ray Rogers, and we will see you all on Tuesday night for the OSRA Super Speedway Series.